Attenuator! Man, have I had some fun with the OPx-4. That kind of blew my mind tonight. I just got done messing around, and I'm about to show you how to throw down. I'm taking all the knowledge from all the synthesizers I've used since 2001 in Reason, and hardware since how many years ago, putting all that together to explain how this works in a way that allows you to play it and then modulate it with the knobs to do something worth listening to. So, got a few cool noises. We're going to discuss how to save and where to keep your patches, how to save your songs with them, how to bounce that audio really quickly, and how to make something fun so that you want to come back and play with this. Now, I was a skeptic with the OPx-4. It's got a plethora of windows and a lot going on. And then the macros kind of pissed me off because they're not labeled. Why? Because every single preset in here was made by someone or something, and they didn't get together and decide that this macro is going to be this filter knob, and this macro is going to be this envelope knob, and this one that's all just a hodgepodge. So it's a mystery when you're turning macros. That's the frustrating part, but there's other aspects in here that you can control with your knobs button, selecting from the track and screen and MIDI knobs. So when you put all that together, you can actually output something effective. Now, if you really want to get into knowing what you're doing with your knobs, it's easier to use a simpler synthesizer, but the OPx-4 does really cool things. So, with that in mind, let's dig in. Attenuator. Let's go through the OPx-4. To get to the screen where you mess with things, I haven't found an easy way to that. So we're going to go menu, and on the side here, you've created, well, it rearranged it again for me when I did the reset. So browser I don't need because that's easy to access. Mixer has a button. And so now we can drag in sounds to get to where we want to be. Maybe there's an easier way. What's Control do? That's Ableton Live. So we want to shift matrix to get out of that. Back to menu. And sounds is the one we want. What else do we want to get? Navigate. We already have a button for. That's ridiculous. I want my sampler in there. Midi Learn would be interesting to play with. The clip matrix, that's ridiculous. Menu, get that out of there. Pad mixer, not available for plugin track. Okay, we'll check it out later. Range has a button, track edit, that's the one we want. So menu, and we'll put track edit in there as the quick way to access the one we're working on. And I want that at the bottom. Sounds we can access in any other way. And sampler is important because I can get a recording value for things that are playing and know that it's within a good range, not clipping and not too low, that it'll need boosting later. So let's go back to matrix, and we've selected OP6, so now we can see any of the other ones really quickly. Menu, oops, we don't need menu. We can side swipe it in and track edit, and there's hype. Now I can use the toggles at the bottom, the numbers, so there's the drum kit, bass line. The Moog is a MIDI track, and there's hype, there's OPx-4. So this is the reason we're here today. Let's talk about OPx-4. I was disappointed initially because the macros are undescribed. And so this initial screen shows the macros. You can control these by holding knobs and selecting track. And that'll toggle these macros to control the ones dedicated in the screen. And what would be optimal is that these macros all did the same thing for all of the different presets. But because it's not named, you have to read in the manual. The reasoning is they're different for every single preset, or most of the presets have different macros. So you don't understand what these macros do until you play with them. And so you have to find your favorite one and then just know that that macro does a certain thing, memorize that, and then that means your filter options or various other components that you want to tweak are not controlled in the same manner. So you can see the macro knobs here, and you probably couldn't see me hit it. Let me just adjust down. Okay. So the macro knobs, again, hold knobs, and then it's normally on volume when you boot up. And this can give you essentially what's in Mixer, and you can control the volumes of these items here. But that's not something I usually want to do. I've got that in my mixer that's outboard. So back to knobs for the track. And then the other useful one is screen, and that's whatever's on screen. So this is kind of a cool one, and this does have labels. If you can't see it very well, there's the OP4 volume, pan, and whether it's muted. So you can do that really quickly instead of having to toggle the mute double-handed buttoning down below. Solo it, boom, boom. And you can see the mute comes on for all of the channels up top. Send 1 through 4. So let's go back to knobs with track, and that's the fun one with the macros, and we'll make some noise here. So I'm going to mute my audio that I've just made with the Moog so we can focus on that, and we'll have a bass line here. So I've got a basic drum kit and a C little bass line. Let's launch that. Go to I/O. Oh, well, I thought I muted it. Mute down below. There it is. It's not the number, it's the button below the numbers on the bottom of your 64 grid. Back to matrix, you can see we muted there. Let's toggle to 6. And if we want to look at it, we go pull over, track edit. So now we've got the macros here. I can go to step sequencer. See if I can back out a little bit and we can view all this. Not easy to do. There's a lot going on. Well, step sequencer is not important. I'm going to be playing most of it on the keyboard anyway, but in step sequencer we can give it a basic back to mixer I/O real quick. I've got it on out 3 for my setup as is. It's not very loud for this parameter. So back to track edit. It's got a low level. There we go. Boost that level up. And that would be controlled in knobs, screen maybe. It's still on macro down here. That didn't change anything when I changed those two. That's odd. Volume would be on the mixer. Volume won't change the OP4's internal volume there. So we'll have to dig around and see if we can find that level. Outputs. So those, hopefully I can do some Midi Learn with those and assign some things to it. So back to track and let's do some macro fun. So I've turned it up. And I've gotten one note in the sequencer to just give me something to hear so I don't have to play keys while I play with knobs. So it's an incredibly wicked synthesizer. So program just a few more of them in here. Okay. There's not much of a sustain in here for just using the sequencer. But this will allow me to keep my hands out of the way. Maybe if let's back out so you can see what I've sequenced here. And if you hold, or you go to each one that you've programmed in, it will show you those keys. That'll just give us a little longer hold while we play around. So really everything's intuitive in here for all the other items, except for these mystery knobs and buttons. But if you go through any of your envelopes, are about the same as other places in your filter usage. So you can add this cool tape layer in there and then use the scroll button along the bottom, and it just keeps going with more and more options to add layers and stack and modulate. And then the last one is a settings screen. And this you can set kind of global. So here we're just in a mystery. You can turn on and off these 4 layers for the frequency modulator, FM. Let's kick that back up. So you can hear this one alone. And then along the bottom, another important part of this is that each one of these dots underneath the name indicates how many screens within just that one field there are. So if you download these programs for the computer and look at them, you can get the full picture of the whole device. So this is a massive synthesizer and lots of parameters to control. So we've got the whole tab field down here, but if we hit operator once and then operator second time, this one's toggling through the envelopes for each of these 4 FM matrix selectors. So the LFO, here's bypass or band pass filters with cutoff and drive. I really wish these knobs were controllable readily. Here, let's see what screen does. There's bandpass 1, there's the cutoff. Okay, so boom. The track is your macros, and screen here gives you just this screen's controls. So it's harder to see, but this is filter 1's selection. So this is a band pass filter, and you can change it between that to low pass, band pass, high pass plus low pass, high pass only, band removal, and then band removal and low pass, high pass and band removal. So all these different selections, and then all pass. I think it was on band removal too. And then your frequency and the resonance. So the amount of resonance and the frequency which it affects is about one of the most fun parameters to play with. Honestly, I'm not hearing much change here. If you put up the drive though, What if we selected like a high pass? Oh, let's go low pass since this is a lot of high noise. There's low pass. So a lot of resonance. Play with your cutoff. Well, that cut most of it off, and we're not really. So we're just on the first screen of filter, LFO, and utility. So you can toggle by the top here, or just tap the bottom to get through the 3 fields. So that kind of killed it with the low pass. It was on bandpass 2. Maybe it was on band remove. Is there a BR? Yeah, BR2. This one just brought in a little more bass tone, if you can hear it through the video. That's a slow-moving LFO, maybe. So here's one of the fun things to try to trigger and synchronizing it to the beat, which may not be really important when we're talking about a really fast LFO. That's 4 cycles per second. If we sync it to the beat, I'm at 128 beats per minute. So 4 cycles per second. And then where's speed? So we're on a different screen now. LFO sync is on, so you can toggle the sync with a knob. That's kind of odd. I'd rather have it do other things on this screen. So this knob controls the type. I mean, I can do the. I guess it was neat in the other one. There, ramp down. That kind of takes some of the edginess off that top end. It's a really fast speed. That's global. There's the speed. So this locks in instead of being an analog speed turning. So now you can see that it turns in a fluid motion. Once you turn sync on, it has steps that synchronize it to the beat. 8/4, and then you get some real creative modulations with a 5/4. I wish these 4 were the 4 knobs though, and these 4, because these I can tap and I can dial and I can double tap and select here. So this is just another one of those things that's a little frustrating. It's a really cool piece of equipment, but give me the phase and delay so I can do some echo. It's kind of clunky when you're finger sliding to get things to work. These usually stay where they're at. So I'd like to be able to control those. Let's see, we're on knobs screen. Let's see what happens when we're on track again. That's right, that's the macros. So screen, MIDI, pitch bend, modulation. Oh, sweet, okay. Breath, well that's breath. I just saw the box and I thought maybe it did so, but this is pitch bend, modulation, breath, volume, pan, expression, soft pedal on and off, and sustain on and off. So MIDI's a fun one to get into for some other controls, but let's get back to screen and we'll move through some other screens. Utilities. This ping pong is kind of bouncy. Velocity curves. Times and curves. So we've really got this sound that's coming from multiple places right now. So here's an envelope. And there's 6 of these, so this doesn't correlate to the main 4. This appears to be different types of envelope for the whole of the sound. So a longer release. And you can see the release is changed down here. So you can modulate any of these and change the shape of it by taking the like the decay can be shortened, and you can modulate your 6 different waveforms and then toggle between them. So all of these can be shaped, and loop, time scale, tempo sync off. So down here we have delay, attack. Slower attack. The decay is kind of fun to mess with on this one. I sound like a Brit when I say decay. Or delay, I'm sorry. Decay is there. So it's a longer sustaining of the note. And then the curve percentages, which aren't indicated as a knob. Maybe that'll soften something, but I'm not seeing any softening going on. There's a softener. So you can shelf or curve or linear to step. So we have some more decay. Maybe we can see the curve. I'm not even seeing it in there. Lengthen decay. There's some curve at the base. I'm not seeing any top curve. It's interesting. Sustain that for a while. So adding curve here increases the shelf at D1 for a harder drop. But again, there's no upper curve that's happening to enter that. Get a long release. 5,000 milliseconds is how many seconds? 5. All right, so we've reprogrammed a whole new envelope right now, and I think it sounds kind of cool. Let's look at sample layers. This is the ahas. Now, bottom here we have 98%, so that's the level. That's a choir ah. Maybe LP means low pass. And we're in digital Windchime Morph at the top. This is just one of the presets, and then this is up and down with your pitch. And fine tune, I mean, I don't usually use that, but we can dial some weirdness to make it match a key better. There's a blank knob here. That's interesting. Sample looped. It's either looped or it's not. Key track. That's interesting. So the key of this track, but I'm turning it left and it becomes a higher pitch. If you listen really close and without the laser noise in the background, you can hear the choir type sound come in. I'll turn it up. then you can tap here, and with your knob at the top right of your force unit, you can change the type of tape effect that we have here. Sounds more like bells, but we're adding a guitar sound. Delay, sample velocity for how fast it hits. We just turned up this effect into the first submix of 3. Now submix is the next tab over, so this will affect over into submix, and you can mix in these 3 buses with your 4 FM matrix selections. Where'd we go now? Settings, we're all the way over. So back to sample layer, and then submix. Now in here we got a bunch of cool knobs where we can do some kills maybe. That takes out the laser. There's a bat in the belfry. So this is a really useful screen for getting creative with all the things that you programmed in there all at once. So mix 1, mix 2, mix 3, and 4. This is your 1, 2, 3, 4, and then mix 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 2, 4. So maybe this is the bus 2. But you don't have bus 3 controls on these knobs. So if we go back to the sample layer, if you want to have control over this effect, sending 100% of it to submix 3, you're not going to have control over that mix in the submix on your macro knobs. So again, holding knobs, we can review that we're on screen and that the track goes back to your macros to mess with other parameters that are the unknown kind of filtery and modulation type effects. This is a really incredible run through. This is the most fun I've had in any synthesizer that's digital to this date. And I've just opened this up and started applying the same knowledge that you build when you have other synthesizers at hand. So, where's that one? We're taking away the laser sound, which was a little overriding. Okay, I'm gonna take a pause here and let's open up a different preset. Okay, before we move on, let's bring them all down. And we've done some work here, so we want to save something before we move on. So this is a preset. We can get to that anytime. It's something that's already provided by Akai and Air. So let's go ahead and save what we've done, because I've changed that weird overridden high noise into more of a bell noise that's a little spookier and not as grating. So to do that, wish I would have had this for the Halloween season. Let's hit save. Now, there's internal and Air Music Tech. Let's look at that folder if we can. I wish I could see that. So, Air Music Tech, MPC. I'm going to save it a few different places just in case I want to recall that in a different manner. So I don't know where this is saving it yet, and I'll find that another time. Let's just save it now, and there it is. Go back to save and hit the up folder. So there's a folder called Air Music Tech MPC OPx-4 in internal So insert effects, that's gotta be in instruments, right? So instruments, documents, plugin presets, is that where it is? Okay, so the path for that is it's in your internal Force documents. So there's internal Force documents, plugin presets, instruments, Air music, and there's my save file. That's a lot of stuff to recall that. I'm going to go my hard drive, and here's all the stuff that I've already dedicated for folders, along with some from the guy that I bought it from. He did some cool samples from Mars, and I've got my samples folder. So back to internal, Force docs, plugin presets, instruments, Air. So that's a lot. Oops, let's go back, save it. That's projects. So if I'm in this project, I want to save it in that folder eventually, but I may do a save as for this project in a second. So presets, custom. And that's good enough for me within my main hard drive. Now, new folder and OP lowercase x dash 4. Do it for the folder and just leave that in as part of the lead in. I think it's chimes. We'll do short. Bells in space. And I think I'll probably do a save as for this track as bells in space. So we'll save that. Now I've already got this sequencer piece laid out. And so now I'm going to go, we'll save project as, because this was my Moog experimental piece. Load, save, project as, up arrow, not back arrow. That'll help. And then new folder, bells in space. Dun dun dun. Can you hear bells in space? No, because it's a vacuum. But in Mars, there's enough air to fly a quadcopter, so you could hear bells on Mars. So we'll leave it as bells in space, because that's interesting, I guess. Boom. So now I'm in a new track name with that saved in there. And I did not alter my original Moog piece. So I'm going to go back to my matrix, and just because we'll go to launch, I'm going to delete those two pieces of audio, and I've got this bass line going that I'll probably modify so those things aren't copied in the other thing. So delete, boom, 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 boom. And it was a good bass line though for... So if I don't want to mess with this right now, I can change the name of these to clip, back to, that mutes it, track 1. Why am I in list? I guess from a previous selection. Bass House Kit Raider 1, but it's really a custom kit that I've made here. We'll do change, save. So I know that I want to come back here and change this and save it. Same with this bass line. It doesn't have a name, CV103, because I copied the control voltage MIDI over just to delete all their notes and have only C, and then I modified from it. So change me, do it, and back to the matrix, and I can save the project from here. Now, what did we do? I deleted this audio from the Moog, and I don't want that in there, so let's go menu, preferences, nope, menu, project, purge, unused samples, and then save it one more time. Now I've gotten that Moog audio out that I don't need taking up space right there. Now what I'd like to do is save this preset within this folder. This is a key to making sure that you don't lose your data. And I believe there's a, what are they calling it? It starts with an S or a P, but there's a presets setting recall action that's been programmed into the Force now. I think you only get one instance of it per scene or track, whereas my buddy was telling me in the machine you can have like up to 8 or 16 instances of these saved presets to go along. So I think it's per track, correlating to scene maybe, or it just takes the whole track's presets and saves them. We'll get to that in another video. What we wanted to do here was go back to the OP4, drag over, track edit, save, and now internal drive, projects, what do I call this, bells in space? And within bells in space I want to create a new folder called presets. Do it. And so bells in space, presets, OPx-4 chimes, bells in space, save. Now if I ever lose this, I can recall it and reinstall it. Now saving it should make this the one that's selected, as opposed to it being a sample that we modified and that would disappear. What you can do is load. So that's internal. It's referencing the first save in the presets. But because I want it to reference that one and not forget it if I ever do any moving things around or screwing things up, I can go in here to bells in space, presets, and load this. Boom. Now that is the preset loaded in this track, and I can save it one more time. So these are the steps that we have to go through to make sure we don't lose our intellectual data. And you can do the same with your drum kit, so the presets of that drum kit can go into that same folder, and then you can load that version of said drum kit into your track and hit save. And if you ever screw up and lose your data, you've got it all right there in one single folder that you're then going to back up into other drives, etc. So what were we doing today? We wanted to play around with the OPx. So that was one preset. I kind of like what's going on there. So let's just mute that now. Add a plugin, load, content, instruments. No, it's not from here because it's under sounds now. So this is all of your old, well, there's Fabric XL, OPx-4. Cool, it is in here now. Open. And I believe it opens up with this evolution. So I had already opened this program just one time and scanned through a couple presets. This is my first time playing with it. Evolution might be the one that you open up with. So loaded evolution, back to matrix, OPx-4. Evol. Now let's see if we can create something that's evolutionary. So let's get back to that screen, drag over, and track edit. So we want to launch here for that bass line and drum. And I've muted. Maybe I can unmute the old Moog. That's OPx. There's the drums. Why isn't it going? It says, oh. When I went back over, I didn't unmute. So here we go. I could delete some, like I don't have any vocals in here, so I could delete 5 so it's all on one screen. That's just an audio. Get to adding vocals later. So delete. And now we got both instances of OPx in our 8x8 grid. So now we'll go back to 8, drag over. That I don't like. So how do we get beyond screwball touching the screen and triggering the wrong drum line? Well, manually go into menu and hit track edit. So yes, the drag over is neat, but it's not flawless so far. If you intentionally really push down and move over slowly, then you're good. If you move too fast, you can trigger your drums or whatever you have in channel 1 in a different place than you want to be. So where are we at? 8. Now we've got OPx and evolution. Let's remember our knobs button. Screen and track are the main ones, with MIDI having some fun there too. And then hopefully do some programming of other things later on. So I want to sequence a few things. Let's go to step sequencer. And remember, I was going to mention this before in the other one, that the bells were kind of a lower volume sample. If we wanted to change between these, it might be a good idea to come back to this main screen and dial the level down before going forward into changing your preset. If you change into a really loud one with your volume boosted really high, you could do bad things. So evolution has a slow crawl, more of a pad. It's like the aliens ship or something. Mixer, I want that to go out 3 in my setup. All ports for MIDI, and now I can hit it with the keyboard. So there's polyphony there. I'm not a big pads fan, but it's a great way to create a slow meditative track. So for this one, I don't think individual notes are gonna give us something to listen to for evolution. So we can record some MIDI in here. Let's hold record and go to settings, and turn off fixed length so that we can do longer than a 2 bar or whatever bar. So we can leave that at 8, but take off fixed length. Right here, the metronome, kill the metronome, shift, and then button under 5. Back to matrix, and let's work on the, boom, it's already in. So we're in C for the bass line. We can kind of keep in that. So launch, we can hit record to stop it, and then delete. And now we're ready to focus on, so shift and 4 bar, by hitting shift 3, gives us a 4 bar drop. So now when we hit record, it's gonna wait and then cue in. So I'll do it in the middle of a drum, so I know that I've got, that happened fast. Okay, when that happens, drop out, delete. And I don't like it when it does this. Let's view this clip, and it's a 2 bar, so I'm going to shift and double. Now it's at 4. I can go to grid, look over here, delete the crash that's in the middle, and now I only have 1 crash, and it's a 4 bar loop. So now this should line up to when record drops, but we're going to re-cue the whole thing so that everything's in cue, because if you don't, sometimes it just starts recording. So now we've done a launch. I'll hit record again. We'll go back to 8 and watch for the drums to go. So now I should be able to hit this and it'll prepare until the end. And then I can get myself ready. Now let's do somewhere where we hold it. So I'm gonna hold C the whole time. Build. Teeny little keys. I swear I can type with all 10 fingers. So that was 2 cycles through. We can hit end, go into clip, and it'll show us that there was 32 right there. When it gets to 36, we'll go to clip here, dial that back to 32, trim clip, and now we've got this to work with. So I can copy this down, and one of these we can dial to 16, and then hit this one, copy it down again, and then go back to here and dial to 16 but forward to 17. And now I've got 2 different feels for this. So this one has the single note. There, the sustained and chord building note, and this one, the progression from this single note to the sustained chord building note. All right, now let's have some fun, because that was the whole purpose of this. I don't think I want the chord building one. I want to hear these individual notes. Actually, let's copy this one more time. We'll do one more edit of this clip. So let's look at it. What do we want to do? So I'm going to go to, I could have copied the other one. 17. Now let's truncate. That didn't do what I wanted. Why did I jump back to 32? Okay, I want to go to grid, start selecting to dial back notes. So I'm gonna take these 2, edit end, and dial them so that C is the only note that's held. And then here I can dial these both back. Boom. Kind of like that. So as it is, evolution sounds pretty cool. So I've got the audio from Moog Synth. If I want to add back CV, I can later. So let's just keep this one without the Moog. And then here I can do Evol audio. So I usually begin them with an A, so I know it's an audio when I look down. Let's commit. And this is a tick. So it's in the key of C. This is the ticket when you're working with synthesizers to get that audio out. And we can mess with the MIDI later. But this is really fun to, so that one, input from, that's interesting. Wish I could tell it that I just wanted to sample from this one. It's going on out 3 here, so I need to route from my mixer through the sub bus, and I'll go to sampler to do so. Verify that everything's down. And now I can dial that volume for that pad. And we're going to do input 1 only because it's coming back mono. Maybe it just popped high because of the routing change. Things are boosted quite a bit. So yeah, that reaches a little high there. Dial back. This is just my monitoring reference. Back to Matrix. I can trigger record. And now we're on a 4-beat, so we're gonna watch that drum. And about the same there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here, if we drop out, it drops the recording. I don't have the ability to play and have fun with this. Delete that. Once I trigger a recording, I can't change the knobs effectively there. Unless, I wonder if I hit shift. So I'm gonna go to record arm and mixer shift, and I can toggle both of them. That's an overdub, I don't want that. Let's see what happens, preparing. And then if I go here, it's still recording. I'm not going to touch any keys and notes, but let's use shift, or not shift, knobs, and screen. Let's go to track, there's the macros. Now without the automation enabled, it's only on read, it shouldn't be recording the macro into this track. If I would have figured out what the damn macros do before I did this, it would have been one thing. This is why I like to have hardware gear, because you can do so much more sampling and having fun. When you create a MIDI line, you play the MIDI line, and then you're recording in another channel, you can play with knobs on your real gear. This is just an experiment to see how this is going to work. Of course, no idea what we're doing here with these mystery macros. Wish it would display per sample preset what each of these macros did instead of just saying macro 1. Like the Air people have to know that this preset was made by this group of people, and they can tell you what the damn macros were, or they can just designate 1 through 8 are going to be a certain thing. You all have to live within that. So that's a big downfall of this OPx. It's my biggest bum deal right now. Is the macro knobs. I want them to tell me what they are. So we've done this overdub, but it's only on that loop. Let's just go ahead and get out of record, ending, boom. So looking at this clip, it didn't fucking record anything. Because I had input 4 there. Thought I selected in 1. Maybe something got turned. So let's look at this. $50, $18, $51, $56, $44, $51, $29, $42. So it did not record the macro into the OPx. I've got an empty clip here, just delete. So that being said, they're both still record enabled. Matrix. And if I tap them both, okay, so watch that, we'll hit record. Boom. It didn't re-trigger. It only took one touch of the screen in that small time frame. So now we're off a little bit. Let's get out of recording. Delete. I don't need to tap that one to re-trigger if I wait for the end of it. So knobs are back on track. And there we can see the macros. So record, bam, prepare. Back to this one. 50, 18. Let's make sure we change these and we know the 50 and 18 are the first macro numbers. We'll know when this is done if it snaps back to when we stop this recording. So as you do this, you'll have to take notes on what these macros do, and you find a patch that you like, a preset, and you'll have to know which ones that you're going to mess with on that damn preset. How are we going to do that? I don't know. I mean, take notes on your track names. I'm honestly not hearing much of a change. Let's hit record to get out of it. Boom. So, do we have anything in this clip this time? What about that one? Yes, we do. You see something changed here. Now let's go back to 7, 32, 28, 34, 46. So it's not recording them in there, but wherever I left off is where it's resting now. If we go to track edit, and we get out of evolution, and then back into it, that must be the standard baseline unless you save that preset of 50, 0, 83, 42, 48, 38, 69, 42. So again, we're not going to capture anything if we just play and then exit. We can take these off of record arm. Let's see what happens when I mute. That was weird. When I went to mixer, the whole track stuttered for a second. Did you catch that? Let's see our CPU usage. 33% and 5 on the memory. Okay. So now we've muted both instances of the actual synthesizer, and this is just the audio coming through clip. Launch a matrix. We can select this so we don't re-trigger it and hit clip. Have a little look-see. Well, that's weird. I may have done that by dropping out before. No, because we have a 4 bar, and it's not supposed to end until the end of 4 bars. Somehow this recording stopped before 32 and has a blank space, which really sucks because I mean that gives us an effective length of 16, and thus we don't have that. Look at that gap right there. Again, we're on 4 bar, so the recording should have gone to 32 at least and stopped. That's disappointing. So to fix that, if you don't like that, you can echo out, or you can copy a little bit of it maybe. No, that didn't do anything good at all. It just shortened it even more, maybe. Yep. And that was just by trying to use the box. Damn, that sucks. What a pisser. So you have to go back through and do a new recording. Maybe exceed 32. But the fix for that, if you're not happy with it, is either some delay. If we go to mixer, and this audio, delay, it's a really cool sound effect. So let's look at the clip and see if we can hear it at the end here. Okay, so delay can fix that. The other option is to dial back to 16 here and then trim the clip. It's a bum deal. Regardless, I really like what's going on here. Let's do a save before we lose anything. We've got a commitment of this audio. So let's go ahead and mute that and unmute the synthesizer itself. Now we're back on this loop. So that was the cool one we made. And if we want to affect this to where we can get things to line up, I can copy up, copy up, copy up. And now I've got a couple copies of the ones that are in the middle there. I can re-trigger this whole thing. And verify that I liked what I have. Select that track, there's the clip. Now what were we here for? Matrix. OPx. So, drag over intentionally, track edit. We can mess with this for a little while. So, I don't like not knowing what the macros do, at least with the, where is it, envelope, with the sample layer and the submix. I know what I'm kind of messing with here. There's 4 pieces of this, and we have 2 buses that we can affect with our macro knobs. But we're gonna go back to screen to get access to these. Otherwise, we're dialing those macros that we don't know what they do. So, if we want, we can toggle these off. We've simplified it down to 1. Now this is all So if you take all of them off, there's still some kind of an LFO going, or a waveform that you're triggering. This is insane right here. There's 32 layers of modulation possible within all those screens. Accessible by the buttons if you don't want to tap down here. There's a lot that you can mess with. So if I didn't want to add delay, I could have gone in here and made a delay within the program itself as opposed to mixer and effects. But let's remember, I just added that to the analog, or not the analog, the audio recording. So there is no delay going on. We can go back to track edit. So we can add delay right there. And it's synced. So it's kind of like that Air analog sync that we just used. Let's see. The fun part, the submix. So this one you can hear is that uncomfortable creepy movie noise. And this one doesn't have very much of it going on for 3. So that's 3 right here. One thing to note, this is a pan over here, so this whole bus is mostly left and this whole bus is mostly right. What's that mean for my setup? Well, I've got mine going mono over to my mixer here. So when you're doing production, I could output my tracks to have some kind of cool pan build. It's only on the left, so if I wanted to, I could have them both equal. Here, this is the Alright, that's been an hour of playing with this. Come up with a cool thing or two. I think it's time to wrap it up. There's so many more to go through here. That's just the first preset and the third out of quite a few. And there's a user at the bottom, digital Windchime Morph. So when we saved it in that folder, that's nice to know. You can do a quick recall from user presets. So I would want to save it in the place that Akai wants to save. So you can do quick recalls here. Remember, that's Windchime, so it's not pulling just from that preset. That's all of your user presets that you've saved for this instrument, for this plugin. Initialize means to set it back to zeros. So let's hit initialize and we'll watch the stuff on the screen. You notice all the knobs changed. Oh. Well, that's a whole, like, drop out all the effects and make it incredibly simple. And so no panning, only 100% there, and everything else zeroed. Everything off. Hellacious action here. Interesting. Okay. So much to go through here, it's just going to take days, weeks, months, and years. So icicle. I mean, who knows? In deep space. Alright, hope this helps. Pretenuator signing out. Oh, that was fun. Right here. Melts my heart. I love working with the hardware, but tonight we really got into this with just 2 of the presets. Touched on a couple others. This is deep space and we didn't even dig into it. So as we move through, that was an hour's time just lost in a rabbit hole, getting into this synthesizer, getting to where you want to find your heart and save something that is created uniquely yourself. Now, we want to take something we've done and make sure that we save that progress that we've had, because once you start turning these knobs and move to something else, it's all gone. So keep that in mind, hit the save button, recover your tracks. Let's talk again soon.